having a partnership with Greg. How do you feel about Dr. Frank?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. Mike genuinely hates Greg.
What's a healthy dose of Trey?
I mean, there's no healthy dose of Trey.
Okay, do you struggle to wipe?
Somebody has been bodybuilding for like 20 years. You're like, can you wipe your butt, bro?
You mess with energy drinks?
I like them. Yeah, if you got an extra one, I'll take one.
Yeah, 100%.
They look.
That's kind of what I was offering.
The fucking. That's what I figured you were offering me. I mean, like the branding on those is just so fucking magnificent.
It's not gonna get you in trouble with the sponsor, right?
No.
Okay.
Sour watermelon, sour pink lemonade. This is a limeade or a citrus.
I'll take the. What was that pink? What's the pink one?
Pink lemonade? Okay. Or
Is it-
watermelon, sour watermelon.
I'll take
Foreheads.
I like the watermelon. If you like anything but that one, shouldn't have pulled it out.
I was gonna say that about
It's good opening. ASMR.
Yeah, now it's good.
Like that. All right, guys. Let's
Fucking lean beef patty.
Oh.
Yeah, you know she always
Yeah,
is like
ASMR.
fucking tapping
Yup.
on her fucking container. Alright, now I'm just gonna kill you, bro.
Yeah, dude, it gets me yeah.
That was nice though.
I get it.
Wait, what? Is it annoying?
It kind of is annoying. I get the whole like I get what you're doing. I kind of like it, but at the same time, when I'm there watching, it's like,
But just don't stop though, please.
yeah.
Just stop. Don't stop.
I'm going under the table because
Stop,
sometimes
don't
it
stop.
hits the camera. I don't want to
good.
focus on like the top tip.
Alrighty, guys, what's going on? We're back here with Thicky with a Pump. We just got our pump with one of the largest humans I've ever seen in person, and now we're potting. Today, introduce our guest.
Eric Janicki.
Yeah.
Didn't scuff
Did
that.
he
get that
Let's
right?
go.
He did. That was good.
Nice.
I take it very minimally personally because I get Janicki all the time. Yanitsky. I get the funny one is people go like the full like Yanitsky route. I'm like, I don't know where you got that. I mean, again, it's Polish, but to like just add extra letters to my name is pretty wild.
I was about to ask if it's Polish. Are you always lived in America? The States?
I was born here in Chicago. Yeah.
Chicago. Nice. That's where Ghost headquarters is actually. So we go out there every so often.
Nice plug, bro.
Yeah. Just
Yep.
But
Already starting off.
anyway, for our audience or the people listening that do not know you, how would you explain yourself? What do you do, man?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I think I'm a guy that just fell in love with working out at a very young age, and utilized that to be better at sports. Played sports all the way through college, and then kind of realized that I was always playing sports so I could lift more weights and not the other way around. And where I was always trying to convince myself like, oh, I like to lift so I can be better at sports, but it was really like that trajectory led me to understand like fitness is my passion, and I love to like help people and see what the gym and that community and just getting active in general can do for people. So I've just made my whole like career out of it after starting in finance, taking a leap of faith, starting a training business, and then starting posting some photos on social media. And 8 to 10 years later, I'm here creating like content, doing what I love, and multiple businesses, and it's been a blast, man. So that's a little bit of a me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I hear that you're also donating through HTTL. You're donating bars.
Oh yeah, we're
the-
the HTLT, bro. Come on,
HTLT.
harder than last time.
Yeah, what did you say?
I think I scuffed it.
I think you said
HTTL.
she just threw out some just letters.
Yeah,
just
just
like HTTL,
ABCD, whatever the hell, man.
RESPCT. Yeah, so we did a nice little donation for the firefighters here
Hell yeah.
locally that gave them some, like, they were asking for like non-perishable stuff, so like protein powder bars. So we did a huge drop of our the cinnamon bars, which are bomb. If you guys want to go try the Seco cinnamon bars, I'll bring you guys a box.
They were good. Greg
They
cooked
are
this
good.
up.
Yeah,
Oh really?
Yeah, so I can vouch. They were good. Very good. It's good texture and everything. But speaking of that, guys, if you don't know, HTLT.
Attaboy.
That's how you say it.
That's what I said.
You own that with Greg, correct?
So yeah, I'm a part owner, minority owner. Of course, Greg's got to keep the majority share, which
course.
is fair enough. But yeah, I got brought in about just about a year ago now. It's been we've been growing really well. I think next step is just like more getting into like wholesale supply and into like retailers in the U.S. Like we've gotten our first like few supplement shop deals, and getting into like more mainstream. I think like kind of like Gorilla Mind kind of modality where we get into more mainstream and get even Ghost like doing a great job with getting into stores, gyms, things like that.
How you like working with Greg?
It's actually great, man. Like,
Yeah.
Greg's a character, dude. I mean, you guys got to spend some time
Yep.
with him. And I think that one thing that people don't realize about Greg is that at the end of the day, like when he makes videos about people, like there's never any malice. He just like sees it as face value.
Yeah.
Like if he does a video where he says you're not natty, he's like, dude, I'm giving you like hundreds of thousands of views of people that probably wouldn't know who you were and now are going to go follow you. And regardless of what I say, they're going to believe what they want to. And it's like free publicity.
It really is.
And so I don't think he ever posts a video where he's like trying to harm somebody's reputation.
Right.
And I get it. Like, I think a lot of people would say, how do you not understand that? And I think that Greg's mind just works in a way that's just like very analytical, like black and white. Like, this is how I see it. Like, I don't see the gray area of like why this would be bad for you. Like, even if he comes out and says you're not natural, which you would be like, dude, are you serious? Like, why? Like, you know me personally now. Why would you say that about me? Now people are going to think I'm disingenuous or whatever about my gear usage. And he'd be like, oh, no, it's like, you might still be natural. I'm just doing a video based on what I think. And it's good for you because it's publicity. So in terms of like working with him as a business partner, he's like extremely passionate. And one thing I will say about him, he has such a high level of detail and he takes so much pride in what we do in the product. Like if I were to show you like our basically ownership iMessage thread, it's like all day long. Like, how can we be better? Oh, what are people saying? What are the reviews on our latest like GLP product, like our appetite suppressant? Like if we get a bad review, what are they saying? What, like, can we reach out to them and see like what was the feedback? So there's never any like, oh, let's cash grab, let's just create a product and hope for the best. Like, we're always reformulating, we're using new suppliers. And even with the testosterone thing recently, where we were like the only company that had real testosterone in our product. So regardless of whether you think testosterone like holds its water in terms of efficacy for muscle building, it was literally shown that we were the only company that was providing what we were saying. And like, Greg's gotten this like terrible reputation of like being a snake oil salesman, where at the end of the day, like, we do so much testing on our products to make sure they're actually what they are. And sometimes even like we'll make a flavor like a pre-workout that maybe doesn't taste quite as good as the like bucked up or something, but it's so much higher dose, so you're gonna get a way better workout on it. So we like, like it sucks because like maybe the flavor's not quite as good because you're trying to mask all those ingredients, but the actual workout you're gonna get on that product is like 10 times better.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, I could tell he's passionate. Just the way he was talking in our group message. Because as soon as I think the time we did the podcast was when he found out that the lab results came back for the Turk's testosterone. Yeah, I can never say it. The Turk. And then he was like telling us all about it, keeping us updated.
He's thrilled.
And I was amped because like he's like, everybody's gonna know I'm not a snake oil. And it's like you could tell he's passionate. And yeah, that's one thing I respect about him. So. That's awesome. I assumed y'all have like a good partnership going, a good relationship.
Oh, for sure. And like, I think it really, when I went out there and visited him the first time, like when I like the night before I was texting him and he was like, honestly, like people don't really like to see somebody more than like once on my channel. So I'll do whatever content you want for your channel. Just like I'll probably only do like one, maybe two videos for my page. And like, we sat down and we started talking about training and he was like, we're doing tier lists. He was like, dude, this is so good. Like he like pulled his cameraman. He was like, dude, like we got to get this. And I ended up having like 15 videos on his channel, which obviously was like so good for me and like good for him too. Cause he saw that, oh wow, Eric's really like fucking super well spoken about this stuff. And it's great value for my audience. But at the end of the day too, like he was like so hospitable. He gave me food the whole time we're there. Like there was one day I needed to go to the gym to work out and he didn't have to go and he like drove me there and just like hung out and like waited for me and like was in my video and then drove me back. Like even though he didn't need to, like he could have either easily like said like, hey, like here's the address, like take an Uber and like make your way back.
Super relatable. I mean, we had like a similar experience when we went up with him.
We spent literally the whole day with him. He fed us like all our meals with his like personal chef, and then it was like, well, I don't know, 9 p.m. Like we just spent 12 hours with each other, and then we were like, we're gonna catch an Uber. He's like, oh no, I'm bringing y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
no. He drove us to the gym, drove us back, took us in the Lambo. You know, got all readied up. He gave us good energy. He felt bad because we had like bad travel, bullshit happened with the flights getting canceled and delays and whatnot. And dude, he's so genuine, dude. Like, you just don't expect it. If you just base it off of what you see on YouTube, you would think he's an asshole. But then it's entertaining. Like, I remember when I first got, like, I started watching his videos, like, actually watch his videos. I've seen his face plenty of times prior. And I'm like, dude, these guys funny as hell. Because I was reacting to Togi, the vlog that we did together. And my girlfriend was like, yo, he's throwing shade towards you. I'm like, hell no. Like, let me see this. And it was like about my form or something, like very brief. And how, like, because I tore my pec is probably because I was eagle lifting or something like that. No, dude, it was hilarious just the way he said it. I'm like, dude, there's no way he's serious. I'm like, this is a character. This is like, he's dramatizing it. Of course. Like, and it's for entertainment, and obviously, like,
it's just like he's like you take on a persona. So like if he did a video where he's like, yeah, I think if Luke had like way better like scapular retraction and dropped his shoulders, like I think he'd have much better like, you know, chest engagement. He'd get like 0 views. So like if he's like, oh yeah, like he tore his pec as he's eagle lifting. It's like it's funnier. And it's like you're probably gonna get more, you know, views for that. And at the end of the day, like views is currency. So
yeah,
you know, you can't really blame somebody for knowing what's gonna get views.
Yeah, no.
And following through with it. Same with like Togi knows he's like if he went super tame and just started doing like a vlog like workout channel where he's like, oh yeah, I'm going full natural, I'm just gonna work out and like do my meals, he'd get like 0 views.
It really would. Like it would just like people like, what's wrong with him? What happened?
What's wrong with him? Like, I thought somebody just trying to like ship him drugs to get him back out.
yeah, dead ass. Someone would try to sabotage that.
But to not speak too much on Greg, one more question. Being in a relationship with having a partnership with Greg, how do you feel about Dr. Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one.
How's that dynamic? Yeah.
He shits on him in every video.
Oh man. Yeah, I have like, I'm sure you guys know this, but I have a very like close relationship with Mike. He's like a mentor to me, and it's been tough, to be honest.
Do you see it as jokes, or like, is it actually, you think it's real beef?
This is like the one exception.
Mike genuinely hates Greg.
Really?
Like genuinely with a passion, like hates Greg. I think that Mike is obviously taken a long time. I don't think people really understand this about like Mike started doing videos like 12 years ago. Like when YouTube like first came out, he was doing like powerlifting videos. Like Mike didn't just like, isn't this like overnight sensation. Like he took time to get his doctorate. He wants to be taken seriously, wants to get good information out there. So then like he almost was using bodybuilding as almost a way to like continue to legitimize what he's doing in terms of the efficacy of his training methods. Mm-hmm. And then for him to like not do well, which isn't really like correlated with how well you work out, as we know. Like you can have people that work out like garbage, and have great genetics and step on stage and look phenomenal, and then there's guys that work their ass off and like look kind of mediocre. So then to do that and not go the way he wanted it to, and then to have Greg now like completely like dogging him for it. But I always say that you have to be ready for the repercussions. And with somebody like Greg, he has a big platform, and he has been known to, if something works well for him, he is going to like just milk it to the end of time. And so I remember seeing the interview with where Greg and Mike met for the first time at Olympia like 2 years ago. And like Mike was just like making fun of Greg, just like, cause they had done like one like virtual like interview, and Mike was just completely dismissive of anything Greg was saying. And Greg's whole thing has been like, Mike and I are actually on the same page on a lot of things, like training harder, like progressively overloading, you know, training without ego, like really trying to refine your process. Like a lot of the things that they preach about, like, yes, of course, Greg's way of talking about things is way less scientific than Dr. Mike. But they have a lot of the same principles. And then, so they were kind of doing this podcast, and Mike was basically just like, I'm not talking to this guy. And then they met at Olympia, and then Mike was just basically making fun of him in person. And Greg was like a great sport. He's like, hey, I'm here with Greg Doucette. And like, Greg was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, hey, Dr. Mike. And he didn't like, wasn't like offended by any means, but I think that like sat wrong with him, because like, obviously they're both pretty high up in the space. And then like for Mike to come up and like make fun of him in person, like for the first time when they actually met, I think it just made Greg feel like, dude, you're just being a dick for no reason. And I think as much as he would never admit it, I think that's like what started it all. And he's talked about it, and I've seen it, and I was there for it, and I was like, yeah, like he was really being a dick for no reason to Greg at that time. And so I think that's what spurred it all. And then it just happened that I became great friends with both of them. And then there was a juncture where like Greg was starting to make all these videos about Mike. And I went and had this like great time where I went to film with Mike in Michigan. We filmed like a bunch of great videos. We were both prepping, but we like pushed through it. And we had some like just great conversations, and we did some videos together. And then after the trip, he was like texting me like, dude, how could you fucking be in business with this like dude? Like, he's making all these videos about me, and like this is really who you want to associate yourself with. And I basically had to like be like, dude, I'm separating myself from that whole beef. I fucking love both you guys, but don't put me in the middle of it, dude. I'm not the like I'm not like the stepmom. Like, don't do that to me. Like that's too. You're putting me in a tough position where you're trying to like pit me against now somebody who's a friend but also a business partner, and then somebody with you that I really respect highly and want to do videos with and like continue my relationship with. We text about like, oh, did you see this article that came out? Or you see this study that came out? What do you think of it? So like to lose that relationship, friendship would suck too. So I said like, dude, don't put me in the middle of it. I see like your side of it. I see Greg's side of it. I'm staying out of it. Like, I'm not going to like tell Greg not to make videos. I'm not going to like, you know, sit here and tell him to apologize to you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to apologize to Greg for how you treat him at the Olympia or how you treat him in the past. Like, I'm separating myself. It's just too much. Like, and that's where it's kind of stayed since then. I mean, I don't know if it's going to affect my relationship with Mike. We filmed at Olympia, but now there's been so many more Greg videos since then with the whole like crab and like making fun of Mike every single video. So who knows, maybe it will affect my ability to like do work with Mike, and that would suck. But I think at the end of the day, you got to realize like I'm not filming the videos, I'm not encouraging them, and if that's how he wants to play, like I can't have any control over that.
Right.
I mean, that's fair, and you guys are all adults. I think you guys are all allowed to like be friends with your own.
The fitness industry is like, it's filled with like a lot of like egos and just very fragile ones, unfortunately. And I think I've like kind of elevated above that, thankfully. Yeah. And that's why so many people are like, oh yeah, I love Eric, because I don't like fucking rip on people. I don't make people feel bad when I like meet people. I'm always over the top, nice, hospitable. And that's how I want to like carry myself and be perceived. So that's why I like, I'm like, let me remove myself from this, because I don't want to like. I don't like getting views from like conflict either, being divisive. I just want to be like, I want to give good value, be a nice guy, and hopefully that's enough to earn me a good living and maybe affect some people in a positive way.
100%. Yeah, you do not give off the stereotypical big bodybuilder whatsoever.
I appreciate that.
Super,
try not to.
Yeah, super nice, genuine guy. Even the first time I met you, I think it might have been during that Togi vlog.
That's what it was. The first time.
Yeah. It was, right? And then, we were just like pointing at him like, holy shit. And then we did that quick skit with the dumbbells.
Yeah, true. Yeah. You hopped in the skit.
Yeah.
But even the times we met you at the expo, you were always like super nice. And it's like, because there is that stereotype of, you know, big, massive bodybuilders who are dickheads because, I don't know, their ego's through the roof. Like you can have an ego. You're massive. Honestly, like one of the largest people I've seen in person. I've said it a couple times, but like truly. But
yeah, you got that 3D look to a T.
100%.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's awesome. And you got good skin too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is like, I think people assume I'm just like on fucking grams and grams of gear. It's just not the case. Like, I have a family, I have kids. Like, I'm not trying to like diet fucking 40 years old. So, I mean, would I be lying to say, yes, of course I'm on like, I've taken things and definitely above like what would be like therapeutic doses, but not to the point where you think I'm like I will read comments that like they're like, dude, Eric's on a gram of Tren a week. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
That's insane. Like literally like, and they're like no, like I'm serious. Like I know these guys. Like there's no way that like looking at Eric, there's no way he's on under a gram of Tren a week like year round. I was like, that I literally respond. Like I never respond to comments. It's just better for me not to even like probably read them most of the time. But I was just like, that's the craziest insinuation that's ever been written on my page. Like, a gram of Tren a week is diabolical.
I don't know what that is.
What's a healthy dose of Tren?
Yeah, what would exactly?
I mean, there's no healthy dose of Tren.
Okay, yeah, you know what I mean, though. What's like?
So, like, if you were to be being like on the high end of like probably where you'd want to be. If you know what you're doing, nobody ever goes above any like really good pro bodybuilder is never going above like probably 4 to 5, maybe even like 600 milligrams a week, and that's like insane. Like most like really like well-versed bodybuilders are right around like the 150, maybe 200 milligram a week mark, like 6 to 8 weeks out from a show, and sometimes even 4. Just because it's such a harsh compound. And like if you guys are trying to get into, I'll look at the camera for this one, if you guys are trying to get into anabolics, which I don't recommend that you do unless you're trying to compete at a very high level, and even then you really should like consider these things and the risks. Like don't just do what your like friend did at the gym, because they probably look like garbage and they're probably not taking like their health very seriously. And with something like Tren, it's so highly anabolic, but it's also extremely side effect ridden. And so like whenever you're talking about anabolics, like the stronger they are, the more the risk profile. So like let's say like you hear like a D-ball, anadrol, super drawl. It's got a draw on the end of it. It's probably fucking pretty intense. But like a Tren, for example, it's a 19 nor, and it just can like throw off your, like you become super aggressive. It'll fuck your sleep up. It can like obviously, have very harsh side effects on like skin, liver, lipids. So like healthy cholesterol, unhealthy cholesterol. It's just like, it's like 10 times stronger than testosterone. So like if you're going to do, let's say it would be like synonymous with like doing, let's say 150 milligrams of Tren would be like doing like over a gram of testosterone in terms of anabolic nature, but also side effects. And so that's why I tell people, like, first of all, don't do Tren. Second of all, if you're going to do Tren, like it would be like maybe like 20 milligrams pre-workout on your training days. Let's say you're training 4 days a week. And I'm not saying this is like a thing to do, but then that would be like 80 milligrams a week if you're training 4 days, 100 milligrams a week. And I think like for that, you're going to get up to like the benefits of like looking drier, harder, a little bit stronger without probably like many of the side effects you get from like higher dosing.
Just kidding. Interesting. I was like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, no. So like, what would you? So like, just someone that's actually just curious. So if you're doing like 80 milligrams a week, right? Like you just said, of Tren, what would that equate to like just running like test?
It's a tough like 1-to-1 just because like they interact with your anatomy and like physiology differently. So different steroids have different like profiles in terms of like what they do from you from like an anabolic perspective, but also from like an estrogenic perspective. And so like for example, test is like 1-to-1 anabolic to estrogenic. So like if you're gonna take, that's why if you really ramp up your testosterone doses, you're probably gonna get some like hypogynetic symptoms like gyno and like maybe like skin stuff, things like that. Water retention. I don't know if you've ever seen guys on like heavy cycles just look like a fucking blimp.
Yep.
And so like if you have high estrogenic compounds, that's what's gonna give you those side effects. So I would say if you were gonna like break it down, if you were on like 100 milligrams of Tren a week, I would say it's probably roughly as anabolic as, let's say, 500 milligrams of test. If you're going to do, and like TRT dose, put in perspective, is usually anywhere between, for the size of the human, like 75 milligrams to like 150 milligrams on the high side a week.
Shit. So, damn.
So like most people are doing, when they're doing like even 200-300 milligrams of testosterone, you're like way above probably like therapeutic replacement dosing.
Right. Shit. That's some potent shit.
Yeah, no, man, it's it can get crazy.
You been on it before?
So leading into a show, yes, but like never like super high dosing, and like I will say that like the thing it fucks with the most is sleep.
Yeah,
it's like you just
can't
very like I never have a problem like falling asleep, but like staying asleep, like when I wake up, like, and I think it's also duality of hunger, like leading into a show. So you're fucking hungry, you wake up, and you're like wake up at 2 a.m, you're starving, and then you also like are kind of hyped up off these compounds, and you're just like, so I don't know if I contribute it 1-to-1 to that, but I think that's been the biggest thing. Like I generally don't do things in high doses, so like that's why my like skin and everything else kind of like is. People will be like, "Oh yeah, you look so healthy."
You do.
A testament to that and like staying on top. And I also work with Transcend, so I'm always doing my blood work. And like most of the year, basically what I do is a test and primo. So I do a 1-to-1. So test obviously throws off like you have like some sort like a kind of estrogenics like 1-to-1 of if you take, let's say, so we usually most of the year I do like 2 to 250 milligrams of test, and then I'll do like 150 to 200 milligrams of primo. So Primobolan is essentially, it's another anabolic, but it's almost has the reverse property of like basically called like covering off the estrogenic profile of testosterone. So if you take those two, it actually a lot of time eliminates your need to do a aromatase inhibitor, so like an estrogen blocker. So like tamoxifen or Arimidex or things you've like probably heard of. And so if you do those, then you can kind of remove having to do any oral anti-estrogen, which usually is like a little bit more harsh on your body. So I'll usually do that most of the year, and my blood works perfect on that. And then I've only kind of ever ramped it up for like a competition prep phase.
Yeah, good for you. Staying healthy. How old are you?
So I'm 33.
33? Yeah.
Look great.
Yeah, you look great.
Thanks,
Yeah.
bro.
But is there any way to stop that, like aging with steroids?
No, absolutely not. There's no way to like, yes, within reason of like, sure, if you have like a good skincare routine and you like keep the, let's say, the compounds less like harsh, for example, like you've seen like videos of guys that like age like seemingly like 15 years in like a year or two of gear usage.
Yeah.
A lot of that is two things. One is just genetic responsiveness to like whatever you're taking. So if you are not a negative responder, then you're probably going to have more side effects to even like not crazy high doses. And the second thing is like dosing. Like a lot of guys will just go like, I'm sick of being small and I want to fucking blast trend, and they'll just do the compounds they hear most about and are the most easily accessible to them. They're cheapest. So like Test is super cheap. Trend is dirt cheap. Like some of the more like safer like anabolics that will have less side effects are gonna be like a Primo is like one of the most expensive, one of the most faked steroids out there. And so also those compounds don't give you that crazy like overnight like, oh shit, like this is crazy, like Superdrol, Anadrol, D-ball, those like orals that you could take and like they'll fill your muscles up with water. You'll look crazy, get crazy pumps, and you'll just feel like Superman like a week later because it gets into your system very fast, gets to your bloodstream. Whereas like a lot of these injectables that are longer ethers, they take time to reach saturation, meaning like you could take them and like you actually won't feel any of that like effect from them until like 3 weeks later. And even like a Primo, you'll never like feel Primo for the most part. You won't be like, oh dude, like I feel like crazy jacked right now because I'm on Primo. Like, but when you take Tren, you'll be like, holy shit, like I'm on Tren.
Damn.
Like the next day kind of thing. So
That's crazy.
I think there's the chase of that feeling, and if you're a younger lifter that doesn't know better, you want that. If you're the thought process, if I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna do it. Like I don't want it to like be like, oh, I kind of feel this. It's like if I'm gonna cross over to the dark side, like I sure as shit better feel like Superman within like 2 to 4 weeks. I don't want to be taking 6, 12, 18, 24 months. Whereas like I know guys have taken like a super moderate approach and you'll see very little side effects and like very sustained growth over time. But you'll see other guys, like you even see like Anthony just drop out of bodybuilding. Anthony Montanello, is that how you say his last name?
Montello.
Yeah. Anthony just drop out of bodybuilding because he's just like, he got in that mindset of like more,
Yep.
bigger. And like, that's where you'll get burnt out. It was like, right now I don't feel burnt out at all. Like, cause I've never like run like crazy high doses. I've never like tried to like push food to like exorbitant amounts. And I just like I still love it. And I think so many guys fall out of love with it because like the side effects are so crazy. You start losing your shit because like anabolics mess with your brain physiology more than you ever like that we can really even like comprehend right now. So especially like some like Tren or like it really like changes your brain physiology. Not even just like while you're doing it, but long term. So like if you run these compounds, it can like change your personality. It can change the way you think. It can make you dumber, dude. It's crazy how these things can affect your brain and the way you make decisions. and the way you like run your life and relationships and business, it's kind of scary. And then the more you get in it, I've noticed like even Anthony, as I watched his video, he was basically saying like he found it harder and harder to like focus on the things that matter, because like all he cared about was like sleeping in, waking up, eating a huge meal, like digesting it, lying around, then going to the gym, having a crazy pump and like good lighting, and then just like eating the rest of his food just so he could like go to bed and do it again. And like that's the mindset you start to get of like when you're in it. It's just like one day closer to being either bigger or more shredded.
Yeah.
Even if you're on like a bulking phase or a cutting phase, it's like it's just like one day closer, one day closer, one day closer, and then you just realize like, holy shit, there's 2 years of my life, and then I was just like thinking about the next day being a little bigger, a little leaner, when at the end of the day nobody gives a fuck, and you're probably trying to win a show that nobody cares about.
It's like the sad truth, kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, because I would put, like, if you had to ask me your age, I would probably put you at like 30. So like you look, you look great for your age. Some guys, I feel like they age like 10 years.
Yeah, no, a lot of people respond like poorly to the whole aging factor. I said the same thing to Grego. I know Matt Grego. I don't know if you know who he is. I think he looked, very similar when it comes to like just like the healthy, youthful skin and like his face and everything. And I was like, damn, like he looks good. He doesn't have any of those the freaky veins. The what do you call those type of veins where they're like
varicose?
What is it?
Varicose veins, or like the Nick Walker kind of.
The
freaky
veins are
looking
cool,
things,
but once they start like swirling and shit,
That's not a good thing though. Like you don't want that.
It's not a good thing.
not at all.
Like the bodybuilder's like, oh, it's sick.
Yeah.
I think it's become less of that. I think when I was like younger and I'd see like bodybuilders like see other bodybuilders with crazy like nasty veins, like, and they'd be like, oh, it's sick. And now it's like actually like, oh no, that's like sick. Like, is it disgusting?
Yeah.
So I think as we get more educated on bodybuilding, like what's really like aesthetic and healthy, I think there's been kind of like a movement back towards like, okay, let's like reel this in a bit and like make this look less like freakish and disgusting over time. So you had like the whole like Branch Warren phase and just like the mass monsters, 90s, early 2000s, Palumboism, like huge bellies and shit. And I think it's been kind of, now we're kind of like trying to make a resurgence of aesthetics even in like open bodybuilding.
Yeah, the GH gut, the big bellies.
But you say you're 33 now. How long were you natty for?
So I was natty until 27.
27?
Wow.
So, so you really...
So like I started lifting when I was 11. And
Jesus.
Damn. It's not something, I mean, I've opened up about it more recently. I didn't talk about it for a very long time because I just never wanted to be like the poor guy sympathy card, and like I don't ever want to like play it up for marketing. But so like I had a kind of like tough childhood. My mom was super successful, like very driven. She owned her own floral company downtown Chicago, like did some of the biggest weddings, events, and very, very like bright, very intense, type A. Like we did not mess around as kids because we would get we had a amount of spankings for how bad we were being. So like if it was 8, we would hurt for a couple days, let's say. So I think it taught me a lot of discipline and how polite I am and giving, and I think that comes a little bit from that. I think it was probably a little over the top, but long story short, she suffered from being bipolar and with the alcohol, and left my family when I was about like 7 or 8, and then it was a phase where I had to like go see her. I mean, I say have, which is an unfortunate way to say it, but had to go see her because she'd be either manic and like crazy, like trying to buy us stuff, and my brother and I, when I say we, or she'd be like in her depressive state and then she'd cancel, or she wouldn't show up, and it would be like, it was just tough. And it got time to the point where my brother and I were just like, we can't like deal with it. We tried to do a whole intervention with both of our sides of the family. Showed up at her office, and she just like took it as bad as you could possibly take it. Right. Like, you want me to take these drugs and it'll make me stupid. And it's like, bipolar drugs, they'll kind of like bring you down to a baseline. But a lot of people that have experienced manic, they're like, that's my genius time, because I can come in and work and make the most beautiful like flower. She was like awarded. She was in Martha Stewart Living, so she was obviously doing very well with her business stuff. So she didn't want to dole that, right? And so so she she ended up unfortunately taking her own life when I was about 10, and so
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it was brutal. But yeah, so one of my older brother's friends was into lifting, and he was about 14 at the time. He's like, dude, Eric, come to the gym with me. I want you to take out your aggression on something more productive, because I'd like start getting into fights and stuff, and it was obviously not a good time for me. Speaking of which, I still remember this. Like, how fucked up do you have to be? There's this one fucking rich ass kid in my school, and he said we were like literally playing a game of like pickup volleyball after school, and like he didn't agree that like I called one of the balls he hit out of bounds, and he was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you go cry about it to your dead mommy?"
Oh fuck! Damn.
And I was like, just like thinking back about that now, I'm like, dude, how fucked up do you have to be at like 11 years old to be like, why don't you go cry to your dead fucking mommy? I'm like, dude,
Fucking.
dude,
That's
just,
insane.
Just fucking railed him, dude. Like, and that was the moment he was like, yeah, you gotta come to the gym with me, because this type of aggression's not good to be taken out on other people. At that time, I felt like it was completely warranted.
100%.
You fought him?
Yeah, I beat the fuck out of him.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Good. Good.
Yeah, it was one of those pulling me off, and I was not getting off kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah, it was brutal. So,
Damn. He asked for it though.
yeah, that was. I feel like if there's anything you can
Yes.
say,
Yup.
like to somebody that like their mom died like 6 months ago over like saying a ball was out of bounds that he thought was
Right.
in bounds was like a crazy,
That's wild.
outlandish thing to say. So, but yeah, so then I went with him and just like instantly fell in love with it. And a lot of the stuff you see me do now with like the slow eccentrics and like really trying to like be ingenuitive in my exercise, like I just started doing that. I just like it became my place of creativity, and I wanted to like teach myself, and a lot of it was like, how can I make this hurt as badly during and after? It's because that's in my head, that was like what I equated to like how much am I progressing. And so like I'd make the sets just terribly difficult. And so even like 12 years old, people come and ask me, because I'd be doing like preacher curls with like the easy bar, and I'd be doing like an 8-second negative, and then I'd like hold it at the bottom and then like drive it. I had no idea what I was doing from like a scientific perspective in terms of like I had no idea what like even the word hypertrophy even meant. So
Just knew it hurt.
I was like, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of got my start. And then ever since then, I've just been like, the gym is my place of just, like happiness and like creativity. And people always ask me like, oh, why do you like listen to music when you lift? I'm like, I don't really need it. It's like, it's almost like a distraction from me being like able to like really like connect with what I'm doing. Like I don't need a distraction, if that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that, because we never, like when we vlog, obviously we don't use the headphones. So you don't.
Yeah, so I just figured it's because we're working out in a group.
Never lift with music, like headphones at least.
Yeah.
Interesting. And who got you in? Who wanted to bring you to work out?
So it was my older brother's friend Max, who ended up moving away, but to Montana, became like state champion, like bench press and like powerlifter, football player.
Oh damn.
Yeah, he's like way better at lifting than I ever was, but he was like a very like strength focused fucking beast, like totally natural. Like he was one of those guys who would just be like, there's no way that guy's natural. He was like part Native American. He was like half Native American, half white. His dad was like 6'3", 6'4", and his mom was like this tiny like 5 foot Native American, like beautiful woman, and he ended up being this like super handsome like 6'2", like half Native American, half white dude, and just jacked out of his mind. Like,
Nice. Must be nice.
now, now he's like a lawyer, still like shredded,
So he's-
not nearly as big, but
So he's intelligent too.
a smart guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
I was a
Shout out
lawyer.
Max.
Yeah.
He talks like he's an idiot, but he's extremely smart.
I love that though. Like I love like the
He's
people
a
that
bra-
can just
he's
be
a-
like normal. Like I guess like just be themselves, but they're also just like, yeah, no, I'm brilliant.
Yeah, he's definitely a great influence for me, so I'm very thankful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but speaking of being so big, you wouldn't believe he's natural. I watched a bunch of clips from your Jubilee episode. Natty, was it Natty versus not Natty?
I think they called it like enhanced versus natural, or like I think they called it steroids versus natural. So
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are outside of the fitness community don't even know what like enhanced would mean.
Right.
They just be like, oh, enhanced what?
Yeah. So you were the mediator for that episode, correct?
Moderator. Yeah.
Moderator, yeah. And so did y'all come to any sort of consensus? Like, did they agree on anything at the end of the day?
Yeah, no, I think there was actually a lot more like in common than
Guys, if you don't know, there was an episode Natty versus Enhance.
Natty versus on Jubilee. So if you guys want to check it out, I was the moderator, and essentially, so my role is the way the episodes work for these. It's called like middle ground. So you have a group of people on like divided sides of a topic. So let's say it's political or fitness related. So I was also featured on the one that went like super viral. It was fit versus fat, and I was on the fit side, and I became like. There was Myron there from the Fresh and Fit podcast, and he like just. Have you guys seen any of his clips?
I'm not.
You guys don't know who Myron is? Oh,
Why is
dude.
that? It sounds so
He's the dude who
familiar.
has the podcast where he brings on like the OnlyFans girls, and he just like rips them to
Yep.
pieces.
Oh, the big table.
Was it-
like the
yeah,
big
with
podcast
like
table?
with the stupid like look down like spray on like hair looking thing.
Damn, what's it called? It's like.
Fresh and Fit is the podcast.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, Fresh and Fit.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about
So
now.
his name's Myron is the guy's name. And so he was on there. And like he's one of those people that's just like, oh yeah, if you're fat, you're fucking worthless.
Damn.
Like he basically said during the episode, he said, if I became president, I'd put all fat people into concentration camps. He said literally concentration camps. And like the people across the way were like, wait, hold on a second. Did you say concentration? Like, yeah, that's what I said. He's like, where you could concentrate on not being fat anymore, and like you'd work out, and I was like, holy crap! Like it was great. Like obviously he's like
That's crazy.
I think he's like one of those people that actually believes what he says, but he's also very good at creating like viral clips. So he knows he probably could have said, "Oh, I would have put people in like a fat like weight loss camp," but the fact he like knew if he said concentration camp, it would like be so much more like
I think that's clip forming.
clickbaity.
He's like rage baiting a
Because
little
that's
bit.
crazy.
Yeah.
So then I was on the other side of it, like taking obviously like a much more empathetic approach, like saying like everybody's like in their journey somewhere. Like I don't think that if you just point at somebody saying you're a fat piece of shit, I think that systematically we have a much larger problem with like how we advertise products and like making things that are really unhealthy look really yummy. And the reason that like, you know, some of like the healthiest foods are the most healthiest, but like nutrient dense foods, single ingredient, are always the most expensive. Like if you go around the outside of the grocery store, it's like, you go out the outside of the grocery store, it's super expensive.
Yep.
You go to the aisles, everything's really cheap. So I think there's an epidemic where, you know, it's a lot of it's due to just like what's available. Like it's like when Hawaii got colonized, that's why they're all like so obese there. It's not because inherently their culture is just like gluttons. It's just they got brought in foods that are way more fatty, and they created this cuisine that's not conducive to health, and that's the outcome. So I think America is very much so the same way of there has to be a huge systematic change. And so like I think I was like well received on the episode, and I even like made a point. I was like what if somebody over there, like I was like, has anybody on the other side like lost weight? And they're like, oh, someone was like, yeah, I'm like down like 100 and something pounds. And so I was like, Myron, do you like see him like any in a better light now that you know that like you would have said he's a fucking worthless piece of shit just because he's sitting there and he's overweight, but like now you know he's lost like 120 pounds. Like, do you feel any differently? Of course. And he's like, yeah, well, I respect that he's trying, but like he's still like got a long way. He's like still kind of fat. It's just,
Damn.
He said that shit on the show?
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Damn.
Like to their face.
Yeah.
He was literally like too like big, like it was so uncomfortable because like, you know, it turns into a V.
Yeah.
And there was one point where he was like in the closest seat to somebody that was on the other side that was kind of like the most outspoken of like the overweight group, and he was basically like telling him to his face like, yeah, like you're just coping, like you're just like you're making nothing but excuses. And I do agree, like that one guy was like definitely like making a lot of like, oh, I have this and this and this, and like that he's trying, but this happens, and it's actually better for his brand to be overweight. And like I do agree, like to some extent, that there was some cope there in terms of like, okay, like there's you gotta like draw a line in the sand and start making better decisions.
Right.
And it's not everybody's fault but your own. But yeah, he was like literally to his face, like, yeah, you're just like you're not trying, you're fat, and you just it's because you don't care about yourself. Like to like literally like if we were 3 feet closer to each other right now, and
Yeah.
I was just like to your face.
Closer than us?
Oh, way closer. Because you see how like it V's in.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah,
have the
yeah.
moderator.
Oh, I
and
see
then
what
the
you're saying,
seats
yeah.
come out in an angle. So like he was in this seat, and that guy was like in the seat like right into the middle of the moderator.
Right.
And then, like they were basically saying it like this, like, and like the dude was like about to get up, and like
Damn.
Oh,
he's like
man.
this New York fat dude. He was like, dude, I'm about to like get up and beat this dude's ass. It was it got really crazy, dude.
Well, you were just like, damn, I can't believe this is like, why am I sitting here right
I
now?
was just like, man, this is wild, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
guys should watch the episode if you haven't. And if you guys haven't watched it either, it's very good.
And then there was just like guys with cameras just like record, like not saying a word, just let's keep this thing rolling.
It's a very like intense studio setup. It's basically like the size of like a jet hangar. So it's this huge room.
Damn.
It's all black, and they turn off all lights, and there's like spotlights over where the people are sitting, and then there's all of these cameras that are like probably like 7 or 8 cameras set up like in this big kind of U shape. So it points at all different angles, so you can capture it from all different ways. Like everybody's like got their own mic. It's like a very robust setup. Like obviously they've done it hundreds and hundreds of times now. But yeah, it's not like every camera is manned. Like some of them are like up high. I think there's somebody like monitoring them, like seeing that all the cameras are working correctly and all the audio. Because a couple times they stopped, they said, "Oh, somebody's mic's like not producing, so like let's stop and reset their mic." But no, it's not like you had like a camera guy like walking around behind it. It's kind of like this. They had like all the cameras kind of set up.
Damn. It's intense.
Dude, it was wild.
I'm gonna have to watch that tonight.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch that later. I want to see that shit.
It's worth it just for like, and people were mad at Jubilee because they're like, why would you have him on here? Because it's like, it's all about finding middle ground, and he had no interest in finding a middle ground. He's like kind of like that red pill, blue pill. Who's like that? It's red pill is the one that's sort of like.
I think it's.
There's a blue pill that you're like.
I think it's the red pill where like they're very.
That's like
male.
Right?
They're alphas.
He's like red pill. Like you're soft if you're fat. And I just made fun of him at one point because he did this thing where he was like, I lost weight and it was super easy for me. And I was like, well, like when did you like gain weight? He was like, oh, I was bulking. He was like, I was bulking to like try to get bigger, and then I like lost. I was like, dude, that's not. You were not fat and tried to like lose weight.
Right,
like you literally made a conscious decision to like go in a caloric surplus to try to build muscle, and you let it get a little out of hand. You're like, okay, time to cut back on the calories, doing all the things that I did as like a college rower. Like, no, you weren't like, you're not in their shoes, motherfucker. Like, this is a totally different thing. Like, you decided to go on a bulk and then cut. That's not being 400 pounds and trying to like make huge lifestyle changes to get in shape. It's like, it was insane. Definitely worth the watch.
A lot different when you forcefully, bulking versus like people that are just kind of grew into that body through like, I don't know.
Probably bad circumstances. Yeah. Like a lot of the people that we talked to on the other side, like, like it was either they had like rough time growing up or, obviously, just lower income, easier food choices or like fast food, things like that.
Well, the one I watched was Natty versus Enhance. Just kind of speak on that. You work with Hussein as well, right?
Yes.
If your life depended on it, right? Life or death, you have to get it right. Do you believe he's natty? If you got it wrong, they shoot you in the head.
That's wild.
I put some pressure on him.
Yeah.
All right.
No, honest opinion.
No one's actually here to shoot you in the head. So
because at the end of the day, if you don't believe him, it's just a compliment.
I'm gonna say that I do truly believe Hussein. I think that the biggest things I look at when it comes to natty, not how you look, right? Because there's plenty of enhanced dudes that look like absolute dog shit, and there's plenty of natural guys that look incredible. Like you guys both look amazing.
Thank you.
You guys stop.
It means a lot.
Don't stop. But yeah, like you guys both built like really good physiques naturally, and I'm sure you have at least a decent amount of times like that you're not natural, and so. It's just because you look good. Like, if you guys were 5% more body fat, you'd never get a single, like, oh, you're not natural.
100%. I got a lot less since I've been bulking.
Exactly.
It's when they see my
It's
ab
only
veins.
when they see you're lean. Like, and leanness is not an indicator of being not natural. Like, I'll give you guys a picture you guys can put on this podcast of, like, when I was natural and, like, literally shredded. And it was miserable. I was literally eating, like, probably 2,000 or, like, less calories of just, like, straight up protein. And like a little bit of fat and maybe like slight carbs in the morning right before my worked out. But then I would literally go to the gym before my finance job at like 4:50 in the morning. To start my workout, I do like 40 minutes of HIIT stairs. So I do like on level 20, no hands for like a minute and a half. And I do like 30 seconds of level 12, like hanging on for a second. Then I go back to level 20. And then I lift for like an hour, and then I do abs for like 20 minutes before I went to my finance job like 7:30.
Damn. And this is like.
And that's on like 2,000 calories.
And that was when you were natural? So pre 27-year-old?
Yep. That was like when I was
Damn,
like 22,
I need to see like a picture.
I was shredded.
Yeah.
I can pull it out. It's like,
I need a reference
like
pic.
top of my camera roll, so it's easy to just hit the when you hit the top of the camera.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
We're gonna need a picture of that so we can pop it up on the screen.
I'll send it to you guys. Yeah, that was like 100% natural.
Oh yeah. He looked good, man.
I was like, so here's the thing.
I think you look perfect right there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
No, it's not. You look great now. You are now.
No,
too.
you look. Yeah, like I said, one of the largest human I've ever seen.
No, but you would never see that now. If you said oh, this dude's on Instagram, he's coming up right now. You would be like, no, this guy's juice out of his mind.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But I can tell you, hand to God, not a single SARM, not a single this was before SARMs were even a thing. It was not even it was kind of before it was in that phase where steroids were oh, don't do steroids. It was kind of after the whole Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and then it started to become a just do not steroids are going to kill you. And so you wouldn't even we didn't talk about it. I played through high school football. No, never got brought up. It wasn't even a thought. And then now it's just so prevalent that it's such a different time. But yeah, I think that was the thing is with Usain, I always look at the height and weight. So Usain's 5'10", and when he was peeled for his last show, he was 150 pounds.
Right.
So that height and weight does not, to me, tell me that you're off the charts in terms of musculature for your age or anything like that. It just means you got great fucking structure. You've got discipline enough to get peeled. You probably got your newbie gains. He's been lifting for 2.5 years. You can easily, naturally, if you train hard, put on 10, 15 pounds in your first let's say, especially if you're young, he was when he started, 19, 20 years old, peak testosterone levels. You can put on 10, 15 pounds in your first year or 2 years even. Then that's when it's oh, you get a pound a year, or a pound and a half, 2 pounds a year after that.
With top-notch genetic stuff.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Naturally, and then it starts to plateau to a half a pound when you're 27, 28. You kind of reach, and then you get to 32, 33, and then it's just let me maintain what I got at this point.
Yeah.
So based on that, I can't fault the guy for having good structure, small joints, makes his muscles look crazier. If you got a tiny little waist and small joints, small elbows, small wrists, it makes everything. That makes your forearms look bigger. It makes your biceps look bigger. It makes your triceps look crazy. Makes your delts look wild if you have wide shoulders, narrow waist. So I think he's an outlier when it comes to his structure. If he was lifting for 2.5 years, he stepped on stage for his first time and he was 181 pounds, I'd be
right,
hey, dude.
Yeah.
No way. You're peeled at 180 at 2.5 years of lifting at 5'10", just not a shot. Because when I was in that photo, I was just under 6'1" at that was 178, and that was
in the picture you just showed.
Yeah, and that was 23, 24. So I've been lifting for 12 years.
Yeah.
Playing and I bulked up playing football to natural 240, 245 soft, obviously, but still pushing those high body weight set points. I'm able to be put on muscle in those times.
I feel as far as social media, I was wording that to see what you would say, but I do believe as well. And there's a lot of guys I don't believe, but he's saying it just once you said that, because I didn't know his stats, I didn't know his weight. Once you said 150,
I think that's a
totally
very important indicator of deciding that, because I think a lot of times it just people oversimplify. It's oh yeah, he's shredded, he looks good, he's on steroids. And I get it that so many people are on now, but you can't just chalk it up to that, because the opposite is not true at all. If you get on steroids, there's so many dudes who look like fucking dog shit. You'd there's probably so many people that are at your own gym right now that somebody would tell you oh yeah, they're on a ton of gear. You'd be no way, that dude, no. Yeah. And it's you're just compounding bad genetics with probably bad nutrition and then just adding gear to that. It's not going to make you look good. So you can't conflate looking good with being not natural. Now, if you're super heavily muscled, or you prep for a show, let's say he prepped for a show and he was 178 to start a prep at 10, 11, 12% body fat, maybe 10% to 11% body fat. He stepped on stage, peeled 5% at 173. I'd be yeah, you're fucking on gear, dude.
Right.
You don't lose 3 pounds of body of scale weight and like get shredded, that's the biggest one. I
Right,
think
the
that you
biggest
get.
red
That's a
flag.
dead giveaway. If you see somebody prepping and they're at the beginning of their prep, they're like not super lean, and then their prep, they're like, oh yeah, only lost like 4 pounds this prep, and like I'm like, no, then you're on steroids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like,
No, 100%.
like it
No
is
shit.
what it is. Like I don't know, like I don't know how to like how other way to slice it. It's just that's a dead giveaway. So I think when people prep, it's a really good thing to pay attention to of like what they say their body weight is, like even in their stories or whatever, and then what their ending weight is. Because I'll tell you right now, even enhanced, like my last prep, and you don't think you have this much fat on you or like water or whatever it is, like I was like topped out at like 296 and like stepped on stage like 246.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't fat. You would never look at me when I was like peak bulk and be like, dude, he's gone too far. You'd be like, I still had abs and stuff. Be like, yeah, he's like definitely not like contest shape, but he's not fat by any means. So you just don't realize how much that weight drops off. So if you, that's where you just like, it's just an impossibility.
How big was your waist peak bulk versus like on stage? Do you
I
remember that?
I never done measurements, dude.
Yeah, just curious.
I think measurements like mess with my head because there's a mixture of body fat and muscle on a body part, right? So like let's say you tape your quads and like you measure your quads, right? Peak bulk. And then like it would mess me with my head if I started losing, which you would inevitably will. Because even if you're like, it's a combination of the two or fullness. So you got to think like you got body fat, you got water, like intramuscular or sub-Q, and then you got your actual tissue. So like, as you guys know, if you like are dieting, you go like flat, right? So that muscle won't tape as big as when you're like blasting full and eating like fucking 5,000-6,000 calories as when you're dieting on like 2,800. So I think that's why I've kind of stayed away from measurements, because you're losing body fat, you're probably losing fullness. So you can't just say, oh, I'm losing muscle around my legs because I measured my quad. Now it's like 3 inches less. Like probably a lot of fat off your adductor or glutes, hamstrings, all that stuff's coming off.
Damn, yeah, that would mess up my head too. I don't even like weighing myself often.
Yeah.
Because if I weigh more than I expected, then I expect to be stronger. And if I weigh less, then I
There you
expect
go.
to have better ab definition. And then I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. So I don't
Yeah,
even
and
like.
then you'll weigh less. You're like, why am I looking softer if I weigh
Yep.
less? Now I'm just losing muscle.
Yes, exactly. So I just get in my head, and then it's just like, it's not necessary. I have no reason to really weigh myself. Kind of just base it off like what I look like in the mirror, and then how I'm like performing in the gym.
It's like how much you weigh right now?
Like 184 with shoes and clothes.
So 184. Like if you were to do like either like a classic physique or something competition, like you would be like based on where you're at now, if you like did a really good like moderate cut natural, I'd say you'd probably weigh in before you like filled up, like flat, depleted as fuck, like 148, 152.
I mean, that makes sense though, because like think about guys that like fight in the UFC that are like my height.
Like
They
you'll
get
lose,
down
you'll
to, like,
probably
pretty
lose
low.
like 7-8 pounds in the last like week, but when you go super
Fuck,
depletion,
dude,
like zero carb,
148, bro.
you'll
Yeah,
lose.
that's
Because
what
it's just
I
water. It's not like a lot of body fat. It's just like water
Yeah.
flushes out of like muscle, sub-Q, all these things.
I'd probably be able to dunk.
I
Like, dude, I mean, obviously, I'd be like fatigued and.
You look way
whatever.
better now than you did when it like peeled at like 150, I believe.
You believe that? You think I'll look better now? Like
Yes.
this kind of thickness?
100%.
Thanks, man.
That's crazy. I thought I would come in at like 150 if I like competed.
What are you right now?
Would just hit 170.
Yeah, you'd probably be. You're just very slightly leaner than him, so I'd say maybe like mid 140s, like peeled.
That's about right.
But that's why nobody would expect you like you would look insane and people would say, oh, you're not natural. But like think about the stats, dude. How tall are you?
5'8".
Hey, 5'8", 145. Like it's
Yeah.
not. This is totally naturally achievable.
Right. And so everybody thinks I'm 180. So like I just started this bet with my friend, and so I have to bulk. And at the beginning of the video, I always put our starting weights, and my starting weight was 158. And everybody's like, he's 158. It's like top comment every time. Like no one believes that I'm that light. I was like, yeah. I don't think they realize any of my stats.
It's the illusion, man.
That's all it is. I think everyone's like today's, especially like the new generation, everyone's like idea of like what the natural limit is like must be pathetic. Like I don't feel like they give any credit. Like as soon as you have like a little bit of like a good physique and some muscle, they're just like ain't no way. Like what do they think people? I don't know. Like people that trained in the gym for years that didn't do steroids, like what do they think was gonna happen? They just don't put on much muscle. Like, what are their like? Everyone's like brains are melted because everyone's just like, you know, lying about being on juice or just saying like, or yeah, lying about being natty and saying this is what I look like. And then obviously the people that are on natty look like shit, and so they're like, okay, if that guy looks like shit and he's taking shit, like, then there's no way that guy's natural because he looks better. But like,
that's what I'm saying. You can't equate looking good to being on gear the same way you can't equate like being on gear to looking good. Like it's not, they're not synonymous. So a lot of it's just like, unfortunately, it comes down to genetics. Like neither of us have Brodie's waist. Like that's the reason he can do that fucking crazy straight on ab shot, and it just looks nuts on him because your structure is so like, your waist is so narrow, and you can't teach that. Like if that's what your bone structure is, like that's not what your hip structure is. You're not gonna, or your abs, the way they line up, or the way they like, you know, look when you're lean, like that's mostly determined by genetics. So if you're out there and you're like, oh, I want to look like Alex Eubank, or I want to look like Brodie, or I want to look like Luke, like at the end of the day, none of us will ever look like somebody else. Like you'll never look like Simeon Panda, for example. Like regardless if he's natural or not, I'm not gonna speculate on that. But Simeon is probably one of the like craziest genetic looking. Like he looks like an avatar. When you see him in person, you're just like, wait, why is his waist like that? Why is his like torso so long and his like abs are so like lined up, and his delts are like Metroid Prime, and his arms like hang down halfway down his leg? You're like, he just looks like crazy. And even in person when I see him at zoo. And like, I don't care how much gear you take or I take, none of us are looking like Simeon Panda. So I think that's the, people will also just like discredit anybody's results based on the fact that they look a certain way. But a lot of times it's just like God-given. Like how your bone structure is, waist structure, joint size, muscle bellies. Because like, I'll admit, like, I have those crazy, like, people, like, all the, like, my bodybuilding friends, like, my black bodybuilding friends, will be like, dude, you got those, like, fucking crazy, blubbly black dude fucking muscle bellies. Like, you can't teach that. Like, I think a lot of it's due to the training, but, like, at the end of the day, like, the way your muscle sits or the way it's fullness, or, like, when I'm not training and just, like, sitting around, you're like, oh, you got, like, crazy muscle bellies. Like, a lot of that's just genetics, right? So I think that's the biggest takeaway. Like, don't just go on PEDs thinking you're going to look like somebody who's on PEDs, or like the fact that you think they're on PEDs because you're not going to look like them regardless.
True. Yeah, no, I say the same shit. I'm like, you're never going to be able to look like that person because that person's that person. And that's as simple as that. You're going to look like you.
Everyone's got different genetics, different insertions. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I get like you? It's like, won't. And it's not like a cocky thing. It's like, just because everybody looks at my core, right? I've had abs since I came out with my mom. You know what I mean? So like, I've never not had abs. I think like as much as I push this bulk, I'm still gonna have abs. That's not gonna go away. Will it look as good? No, you won't be able to see the obliques and like the cuts as much. But that's just my genetics, and like I'm blessed when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think it's like you just got to be like, you can't be grass is always greener on the other side, because like I've learned that, and that's like I've become so much happier with my own progress, my physique, when I'm not trying to compare myself to other people. Because I've kind of embraced like, okay, this is the Janicki like look. It's not gonna be, I'm not gonna have the tiniest waist in the world, but that's not my fault. It's just like genetics. And I've kind of embraced it and tried to like make my physique as well rounded around that as I can. So it looks aesthetic because like everything else has been built out, and I don't have like a blown out midsection and stuff like that. And I try to build my legs out as much as possible. But at the end of the day, I've just like embraced that I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna look like Lex Little or something like that, because like I don't have like a 27-inch waist, so it just is what it is, and I'm happy with embracing what makes me special. Because I get like, I have very low ego, so when I hear people like, dude, I wish I could look like you, and I'll see them, I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, dude? Like, I wish I could look like you, like, you know. I think since I've had that mentality more, I'm just like more at peace with my own progress and like where I'm at, and not really caring about like what other people's perception of me should be. That's
good. Yeah, with social media, it kind of ruined everything. There's so much comparison. Yeah. I feel like that's what makes a lot of people hop on, especially at a young age. Or even like certain creators that hop on just because I feel like it gets to their head. But
how have you guys like kind of like been able to circumvent it or maybe stay away from it, or have you ever considered it?
I don't think either of us have. Well, the thing is, this is where I think we both relate, is that we just want to look good and we just want to have fun. That's why we're into the funny shit, right? Because I don't give a fuck about being the biggest. I kind of care about being the funniest, you know what I mean? Or the most entertaining. You know, I care in that aspect. But also, at the end of the day, God nerfed me. You know what I mean? I'm 5'8". I'm never going to be the biggest. And if I do take gear, I think I'm going to be a bowling ball. I'm going to look like a meatball. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because of my height and everything. It doesn't make sense.
That's a big thing for me as well. It's like, dude, like I honestly don't want to get. I would never want to get too big. Even if I tried, I probably couldn't get too big. But like, yeah, I'm 5'8", so like I'm only gonna get wider, and it's only gonna make me look shorter. And it's like, nah. And I like to be able to like be. I like to be. I don't know, mobile. Like I don't want to be winded walking up the stairs.
Athletic?
I like athletic. I like. You guys always make fun of me on this. No, like I like to be. No, I don't want to be.
I hear you, bro.
Like, I'm pretty flexible. I don't want to lose my mobility. I like to be able to just jump out of bed and feel good. Like I don't need to be huge.
And the biggest thing, we don't bodybuild. So what's the point of doing it other than wanting to have a bigger ego or wanting to be like bigger than people?
And like I understand that like it's kind of like it would if you start like how do you stop? Yeah. You know, like you're going to get that high from like the first cycle, whatever the hell you take. And then you're going to feel like a god. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to have the veins. You're going to get leaner. You're going to get stronger. And then like, now what? You think you're just going to maintain all of that naturally when the cycle's done? Like, no, like you might get side effects. You're probably going to lose a lot of that strength. You're not going to be as full. You're not going to get the best pumps. And it's like, damn, I'm going to want it again. And then what? You know? So for me, it's like, if you're going to do it, you're never going to stop, you know? Yeah. I mean...
I'm just boring, so I had to get on gear.
No, I'm not. I mean, you got to figure it out. Did you? I was gonna ask this earlier. Like when you first did it, so you were 27. Like you did it honestly. Like I feel like at like a very mature age. Like you didn't do it at 17.
Honestly, it was, and like I don't ever like to like play this card because it's like it was a personal decision, but. Like I did do some like stupid dieting, like I mentioned, crazy cardio. Like before I knew how to train properly, like doing like 40 minutes of stair climb before strength training is like just idiotic, obviously.
Yeah, even I know
but,
that.
Yeah, even I know that.
And I'm a gym bro.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so like completely trashed my hormones. There was a point where I was like super lean, and I just like remember I was like.
This is when you started for your first time?
This is before.
Oh, before.
So like, I was really lean at one point. I was like doing a photo shoot, and I remember that I like hadn't had like a sexual thought in like a month and a half. Like no, like hadn't jerked off, hadn't done anything, and then like that was when I was like, oh, like this isn't good. And so I went and just was like, okay, I went to urologist, did like blood work, and of course like testosterone was super low, and all my, all my sperm count was like terrible just from like just severe dieting and not having enough healthy fats in my nutrition or fats at all. I do super low fat. And so we tried to do like a really high fat protocol. It's like one of the worst experiences in my life because I was like so used to being really lean. And then I was doing like really like all like avocado, like, red meat, olive oil, and it was like I was like obviously so my body was like at this homeostasis where I was like if I wanted to stay lean I was eating like 1,800 calories, like mostly protein. So then I started eating like 3,000 3,200 of like proteins and fats, like, and my testosterone came back to like 4 something. It was down at like 180 200, right around that range, on my blood work, and free testosterone was like really really low. And so I was like, okay, I'm in fitness and I don't want to feel like this anymore. And so we started with clomiphene, and that made me feel like so much better. And then after that, for like 3 or 4 months, my levels came up like even better, like 700-800. And like basically my doctor at the time, or the urologist, like, yeah, like I don't love the fact you'd be on like clomiphene forever, but like you could do like a very, very low dose of testosterone. And I was like, oh, tell me about that. Like, what did that look like? And so that was like where it started. I would literally go to him every week to do the injection. Like he would just do it for me, which was like so annoying. And then that was kind of like, then I was like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to like train and it was not even very much. It was probably 80 milligrams a week, but I felt like, oh my God,
Felt horny again?
I felt like, sex drive was better. My training was great. I started getting leaner while eating more. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then after that, I was 6 months of the kind of TRT dose. And then, when you have broken the barrier, you're like, okay, well, let me and that's when I was already in the fitness space and thinking about competing. And I'd heard about the other things that people were doing. So oh, let me throw in some EQ for a little bit. Let me raise my testosterone. I'm sick of going to the doctor to every week to get my shot. I've seen him do it now 30 times. I can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically just had a friend, trainer, got started off with EQ and test, went up to 300 and 300 and that's when I just I'm a hyper responder. I just fucking exploded. Mm-hmm. And then I basically, from when I was 27 and a half till when I was around 29 and a half, and then my wife and I wanted to get pregnant, of course, go to the urologist. Oh, yeah, you've got 0 good sperm. And I'm great. So that's when I dropped down to a testosterone replacement dose and did HCG, HMG, the full fertility protocol while trying to stay on a very low dose of testosterone. And it started to come back, but I don't know if you guys know about morphology or quality of sperm, because you have count, but then you've got motility and quality, which are also 2 metrics. So you could have a super high sperm count, but if they're garbage and they've got no quality motility, it's they're worthless anyway. They're just shooting huge loads of nothingness because they basically can't swim to the target or achieve the goal. So that's when I just got off of testosterone completely, stay on the HMG, HCG, and it took me 6 to 8, 10 months to get back to really good sperm quality. And that was a tough time for me because I'm now experiencing being on TRT plus or a little bit more than that, to then going back to being off of everything and doing the HMG, HCG. It was tough, and it took me 6, 8 months. And then that's when I got back. And then we started trying again, and then it took us through our whole journey of then eventually doing IVF, and that's how we got our twins. So that's why I tell guys, especially if you're young, if you want to have kids, which most of, I'm sure you're not thinking about that when you're 18, 19, 22 years old, but it does have, it will suppress your natural production of testosterone, of LH and FSH, which is your precursor to hormone production, and which will then stifle your sperm production. And if the longer and longer and longer you shut down that pathway, the harder it is to kind of get it back. So it's just worth noting. So if you are going to do something, make sure you are well versed in some sort of protocol an HMG, HCG that kind of keep everything at least going somewhat, so that when you do want to have kids, then you can it's a lot easier to get it back.
Damn.
So yeah.
That's crazy. Did you expect it to be that bad when you?
No, it's always it is. It's always it's not. That's not me.
Right. It won't happen to me.
Well, I mean, look at all these bodybuilders having kids, bro. I'm doing so much less than them. That'll never happen to me.
Right.
But then it happens to you.
Yeah.
It's always that, right? Oh, that dude died of a heart attack. That'll never happen to me. That's that dude. He's doing way more than me.
Right.
Or, I won't have any fertility issues. Dude, Ronnie has kids, Jay has kids. Look, they're fucking blasting gear up to wazoo. How'd they have kids? Mm-hmm. I'm doing 1/10 of what they were doing. I'll be fine. So but it's not like that.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like if you're suppressing it, a lot of times it doesn't matter if you're suppressing it with a little amount or a lot amount. It's still going to shut down your natural production. Damn. Even if you're just doing TRT doses, and that's what a lot of people don't explain to these younger guys that get on at a very young age.
Nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But speaking of family talk, so you get 2 twins. I'm sorry. You got
twins.
one set of
4 kids, and I'd be oh my God.
You got one set of twins.
Yeah, boy and a girl, man. Winter and Landon, they're loving my life, dude. I'm super blessed, and I think it gives you a lot of perspective on what's important, and changes everything. Your whole day is, especially when before they had any daycare or any type of preschool or anything.
Right.
Alina and I were just on all the time, just up with them, feeding them, and there's 2. So one might be sleeping well, but you're sure as shit the other one isn't. So nobody's fucking sleeping. So It was tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was so rewarding, and it teaches you a lot about yourself and how much you're willing to give. But there's a lot of sacrifice, right? Like, you now are not solely responsible for your own well-being. You are like responsible for like the lives of a child, and it's if you step up to the plate and you actually do a good job, it's extremely difficult. It's taxing. It's emotionally draining, and then you like live for those moments where you feel that gratification of, oh, like you know, you come home and one of your kids is like, like screams because they're so excited to see you, and like that moment, it's like enough. You just don't care about anything else. So I would say it's probably like the hardest thing I've ever done, especially balancing with bodybuilding and business and everything else I'm doing. I mean, I'm so blessed to have like such a great wife, and she's a rock star, and she's a businesswoman herself. We run our coaching company together, and she still takes like clients. She's a nutritionist, so she's super busy too, and trying to, everything is a pre-plan. There's no like, hey bro, you want to go like lift tomorrow at X time? Like, we put this on the books 3 weeks ago for a reason, because I needed to tell her like, hey, I'm gonna be with Brodie and Luke from like 9:30, and then we're gonna do a pod. Like, I might not be, like, I told her this like weeks ago. It's on it's like on our calendar.
Nice.
Like, there's no such like thing. If you guys had texted me yesterday, like, dude, you want to do a pod at like 3 p.m. tomorrow? I'd be like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to. Like, thank you so much, but like, I don't. Like, Jesse just texted me and was like, do you want to come to Miami to do a video? And I was like, I can't, dude. Like, I'm going to the Arnold already. I can't leave her with the twins 2 times in 1 month, where like she's like responsible for everything. It's just not fair. Right. So like that's the biggest thing. Is like your life.
It's not just your life.
It's not your life anymore. It's you're responsible for the well-being of your family, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with like financial, like how much you're showing up as a parent, your demeanor, your efficacy of, are you raising them to be good kids, not brats, like giving them enough love, but also like putting them in a position where they're kind and like willing to put away their toys, and like you want to do it for them, but like, you know, it's better to like teach them to have them to do it, even if they cry, because you're making them do something they don't want to do. So it's a lot of like give and take and balance, and it's very nuanced, right? It's not there's no perfect way to do it, but I think if you just show up and try, and I think I put a lot of pressure on myself too, because like what happened with me when I was a kid, of like trying to be the best dad I can be, because I know how much it sucks to be part of a broken household where one of your parents isn't really like obviously around as much as you would like them to be, and then not around at all, unfortunately.
100%.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, happy for you.
What a great dad. Imagine like you're picking on a kid, and then his dad shows up, and that's his dad. Yeah. Imagine.
I couldn't. You're the coolest dad, definitely picking up your daughters at the.
Dude, like literally, I've been. We started as like super high level like private preschool, but I teach them 5 languages. Crazy.
That's good, man. Great dad. Love that.
It just cuts and just ends.
It's great. It's like right, like cuts me off in the middle of my story. It's like, I'm so tired of it. I'm so sick of that shit.
Yeah. we had to hit a quick pee break. But speaking about the family stuff, you know, we talked about like a digital footprint. Is there anything you like posted back in the day that you wish you didn't, just because you have a family and stuff now?
My stuff is like pretty PG, honestly. I think maybe some of my skits, I mean, they're pretty like mild. Right. Maybe at a certain point I might look back at a skit I did and be like, that was kind of stupid. But like more like cringe as opposed to like bad taste. You know what I mean? Like none of my skits are ever like making fun of people or like anything like that. It's more of just
for jokes.
You know, it's just jokes. So it's like gym humor usually, or things like that. So I don't think there's anything I would look back and be like, it's not like I started OnlyFans or something like that.
It started up like a week, dropped like a bunch of crazy pics, and then you're like, oh shit.
My wife always jokes that she's like, oh, we should have started doing OnlyFans. We would be so rich right now, like with all the gay dudes that follow you. I was like, yeah, I don't want to sell my soul for that shit.
Yeah, no, that's true. What if
you knew? Proposition me right now?
Right. Where are we going with that?
Speaking of which, what if
we could collab? No, but I always think about that because it's like, how much money would it take to like start something like that?
Like
But-
how much money would have to be guaranteed in the first
yeah,
month?
so that's what I was
let's say?
getting at.
I think I'd have to be in a like much more desperate spot financially to like
Right.
even like have that be a consideration. Let's say I was broke and I had to like pay for my kids' school and stuff like. I mean, you might be putting me in a tough spot to say like there would be a number I could put on it, but like as of right now, there's just no number I could
Right.
like say that would be worth it because like I've come to a point where money is a means to enjoy my life and like have the things we need. But like I've gotten over the phase where money is something that I need for like status or to look a certain way. In my 20s, I think everybody's a little bit more like that. I had like my Shelby GT350. You know, that like you'd pull up to the gym and it's loud as hell and everybody knew it was you. And then I had like my AMG C63S after
Get some
that.
taste, man.
And
I
I've got
like
like a Tesla Model Y Performance and it's like the best car I've ever owned. It's like so like you just there's things that you don't even notice about it. You're like, oh, I've never taken this in for maintenance because you just don't take a Tesla in for maintenance. It just goes for 3 years that you lease it and then you just get another one. And so I think for me, just convenience and safety and living a comfortable life has become so much more important to me. Like, I don't think I would care that much other than like financial stability for like my future and like for my kids' future. It doesn't matter to me where if somebody was to know I made $1 million a month versus $100,000 a month, I don't think I'd be like, oh, I need people to, you know, some people like, oh yeah, I make $1 million a month. Like, sure, dude, good for you. Like, for what? Like, does that make you happier? Does that make your dick bigger? Does that make you like better than me? Like, no.
Dude,
So-
I'm a small dick. It sucks.
I know, I can't. Well, I'm
Money
not
can't fix that.
materialistic at all, but you can tell the people that have to flex their iced out AP and shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like on a podcast. I'm wearing a fucking Fitbit. Like,
Yeah.
like you never know how much money I make, and I want it to be like that. I don't ever want. I think like I admire that now more than ever. Like, you hear somebody's worth, you know, $200 million, and they drive like a Volkswagen like Touareg or something
dope.
like that. You're just like, oh, that's sick. Like, you
Yeah.
could be driving a fucking Wraith or Phantom or like one of one Bugatti or some shit like that, and you're just driving a Volkswagen just because like you just don't care. And I think that's like the ultimate flex of you make money, but you give back, and you don't feel like you need to fill some void by showing everybody else how much money you
You
make.
have to flash it. People need to know that I'm rich, type of
Yeah,
thing.
because I think a lot of it's circumstantial, right? Like, same thing with genetics, right? If you have a great physique, sometimes it is due to hard work. Sometimes it's like, you fucking lucked out, dude. And I don't think that a lot of times we say, oh, that guy looks the best, so he must have the best training, or he must work harder than the guy who doesn't look quite as good at him. It might be the complete opposite 180. The guy that works 10 times harder might never look even half as good as that guy. It's the same thing with money. You might have been put in a good situation where you put around the right people and you got the right advice, or you started off with a family business or something like that.
Yeah.
You made a ton of money. It doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. It just means you're right time, right place, right time. Might be a little higher level of intelligence or work ethic.
Yeah, just put money in crypto
So-
in the right time.
Exactly,
you know?
right?
And now
There's
he's
literally
balling.
people that are like that are just like, oh, somebody told me in like high school to put like $10,000 in Bitcoin, and now it's worth like $300 million. Like, does that make you better than the person that didn't get that advice at that time and have that
Right.
10 grand to put into Bitcoin? Like, no, it just happenstance. So I think that the more you can realize that money does not make you happy, it's a lot more fulfilling. And I use my time now to be like fulfill myself, like to have experiences like this. And the other thing I would just like advise you guys of is, especially if you start to do social media or anything where you have some sort of relevance based on your numbers, don't live your life like that of social currency. Like, I'm only going to hang out with these people or film with these people because they have X or Y amount of followers. And I see it so much of people that, and it happens to me all the time, where people will reach out to me only for something, And it just drives me nuts. Like, I liked you guys the first time I met you. If this was like your first episode and you're like, dude, we're just starting a podcast, I'm like, yeah, dude, let's run it, man. I don't care. Might get 100 views, but just the ability to spend time with you guys and be that like launching pad of, okay, maybe this will eventually be big and I could have been a small part of that. And even if my episode only gets 100 views and then you eventually get a episode with somebody you really want to have on there in 3 years and it's like laid the groundwork for that, it's like more than worth it for me. So I think that if you can start living your life without being transactional and thinking about like what can somebody do for you, it's so much better, dude. Like, it's so much better. I mean, I just like worked out with a kid that bags my groceries at Trader Joe's and he was just ecstatic that I like worked out with him. And people were like, why'd you work out with that kid? I was why not, dude? Like,
That's dope.
He was just excited to work out with me. He learned so much. He absorbed so much, and it was like a good time. I'm never expecting him to like in 5 years graduate college and be some millionaire and come back to me like, Eric, here's $50,000 for that workout you gave me. That was awesome that you did that. Like, no, I'm like, I don't expect that at all. It's just like life is just a conglomerate of experiences, and if you can just fill yourself with experiences where you expect very little and you're just like in the moment and enjoying it, you're just gonna have such better life.
No, that's awesome. I mean, you would never expect it, but would you accept it?
Would I expect it or would I accept it?
No, you wouldn't expect the 50 G's from that dude, but would you accept it?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay, I just wanted...
I could never. Like, if he came into me with 50 G's, I'd just be like, why, dude? Like, just, I thank you so much, but no, like, I appreciate you.
Like, you're good, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, a wise guy right there.
Yeah.
Super genuine.
Do you think that you think being a dad now and being a father is just like, I don't know, changed the way you just view, like you did obviously mention that it's changed a lot, but like, do you remember like a significant change and like maybe like a mature trait, I guess, that's like night and day from like maybe a year prior to being a father and then being like a year into being a father?
I think it's actually the opposite, honestly, with like, my wife would always just drive her nuts. She's like, you just stop being so fucking nice to everybody. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, why are you like spending time talking to the person in the parking lot that's asking you like a million fitness questions when we're trying to like make our way somewhere? Like, just cut it off. And I'm like, oh, it's just so hard for me. Like, they're asking good questions. Like, because people stop me all the time. Like, oh, what do you like? And they're like the ones you're just like, oh god, like this is like, what kind of protein powder do you take, bro? And it's like,
that's gonna be like
that's the make or break, dude. Like that, the brand of the protein powder is gonna be like what gets you from where you are to where you're looking like me. No, that's a good one. But like I think it's actually been more of trying to direct like more of that energy back into like the family, like being more selfish in the sense of like, okay, I need to get home. Like, whereas, like, if before I'd be like, all right, like, I want to, like, maybe have that extra conversation. Now I have to be like, hey, like, I'm really excited that you're, like, passionate about fitness. I've got a page. I post tons of YouTube content completely free. Like, here's my YouTube, Instagram. Go check it out. Hopefully, like, you can get more of your questions answered. Here's some other great resources. Instead of spending 10, 15 minutes talking to that person about, like, the things that, like, obviously we know now of protein powder is not going to be, like, what really drives results. It's going to be like your consistency and tracking your nutrition, understanding what your intake is. I mean, it's like this, you could go into an hour, 2-3 hour conversation, but like I've had to be more like, all right, I have to be more respectful of like, it's not just about me now. If I take that time to be nice to that person, that's time away from like my wife struggling to get the kids dinner because she's 2-on-1 and they're like screaming, or one of them like, you know, stole the other one's fork and like threw it at them, and you're just like, so yeah, dude, if you could be a fly on the wall for like sometimes like when I go home, I'm like mentally preparing myself for like 20 minutes from now, like it's gonna be it's always an adventure.
What's one of the biggest dad moments where you're like, dude, I'm such a dad now? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think probably the biggest thing that's like I'm just such a dad is honestly just like the shift of like convincing people like that a Tesla is like a cooler car than like an AMG Mercedes. Like it's so
like,
not.
nah,
But I'm like, dude, just hear me out, bro. Like if you're outside and you're about to like put your kids in the car, like you can go on the Tesla app and like set the climate. And like when you get in, you don't even need a key. Your phone is the key, bro.
Yeah.
And you go up to the car and you open the door. Like you got your baby and you go like open the door. You don't even need the key. You put them in there and the car's already at the climate you want it to. Your seats are, and people are like, dude, you're such a dad, bro. Like before I'd be like, dude, this thing's packing like 560 horsepower, like 0 to 60 in 3.7. Like it's got launch control. I had like the little like all the settings, you know, like the AMGS. They had this crazy steering wheel with like all the toggles on it and stuff. And like that was me before. And now I'm like, look at my like Tesla. I can like set the temperature before I go outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like it cool, opens the door without a key because my phone is the key. Like I think that's probably the biggest dad trait that I've accumulated is like what's talking about things that are functional about being a dad that are like you guys be like, dude, that's so fucking lame.
Yeah. Nah, I think that's cool. I was expecting something different, but that's like the car thing. That's real.
Car thing. I think. What would you?
Can't say changing diapers and stuff because that's like
oh, dude,
it's every day.
Oh, dude, like and now they're potty training, and my wife is like, she really like doesn't do well with like seeing it. Like when it's in the diaper, it's kind of like smashed in there, and like. But now like they're like going these like little plastic like imagine there's like a plastic toilet. Right there.
Yeah.
And the kid and one of your kids just like goes and like you put them on there and they just like slip a poop out into this like plastic thing and you gotta like be like, all right, let me take this poopy plastic thing, dump it in the toilet, and now clean out this plastic thing that has poop like all over the sides of it. My wife can't stand it. It doesn't bug me in the slightest, so I'm always the poop guy. So like just like
nice. It's usually the opposite.
Yeah, no, it's I'm very like yeah, I don't get grossed out by anything, thankfully. Yeah. She's very much like, she's like, ugh. Like, oh my God. Like seeing it like that, just like in like a little plastic. Yeah.
That's kind of gross, yeah.
That's pretty yucky, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, that's one of the things you change when your dad just don't care about stuff like that. They'll vomit on you and you're like, yeah, well, that sucks. But time to like just maybe like wipe that off and change his shirt later when I get to it.
Yeah. Just stains there for a little bit.
It'd be hilarious if I had some like vomit on this shirt right now.
I was trying to think, but I think he's the first dad on the podcast.
Oh, is it?
I'm wrong.
Scotty, yep.
I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Fuck Scotty, that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck Scotty is crazy, dude.
The best dad that's been on the podcast.
Yeah. Fuck BSHREDZ. That's but we'll allow you to go back and be a dad. But you have anything else you want to talk about? I have 2 questions, but do you want to hit a topic?
Honestly, I think we had like some great yap session. If you guys know me, I can yap it up with the best of them. But I hope this was like somewhat entertaining and informative. But no, I'm good. Whatever you guys got, you want to fire off these last couple questions?
Yeah. So it was 2 questions from our followers. One, it's pretty funny. Do you struggle to wipe?
Do I what?
Struggle to wipe.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, that's definitely hard, especially like peak bowl, because it's not a fun time. Like, you gotta like get pretty creative with it. I mean, I'm pretty mobile, so it's not like it's not that bad. It's like I joke about it, but we got the wet wipes and I take care of business. So, thankfully, it's not a huge hardship for me. Thankfully.
You don't use a bidet?
No, I don't have a bidet in our house. Those things freak me the fuck out, dude.
Yeah. Really?
I sprayed myself in the butthole with that one time. I was like, no, thank you. Dude. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling at all. The warm water
invasive,
spraying. No, that's not for me. Plus, I'm like, where is it? Like, it's the projectile is coming from behind, right? So that shit's spraying somewhere, right? Like, like, what if you got a little like extra chunky on there? It sprays out forward, and now you gotta like. Right. I don't know how they work.
Yeah. I know what you're saying though. Like where is it all splat? Like
it's like even if it's spraying up, like it's got to spray. What if it sprays back? Like, it's just it's concerning to me.
Yeah, I've never used one, to be honest.
I think it's a great idea for like I think the better idea is just like wipe with a wet wipe, and you need to like hop in the shower and like make sure you're perfectly sparkly clean. Squeaky clean. I've never been a butthole play guy, so that's never been and my wife's like, never am I going near your butthole. I'm like, great, we're on the same fucking page. I'm good. Never felt the need for that, so I've never been like, oh, I gotta make sure my butthole's nice and squeaky clean. I need a douche or something.
But he's also from the 1990s. Born. What year were you born?
91.
91. So you want to ask him the OG question at the end of the pod?
Okay. Super Smash Bros. Familiar with that?
Yeah.
What character are you playing? We're gonna battle it out right now. Let's just hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
Who you getting? Yeah, there's money on the line. Who are you gonna play?
Princess Peach.
Really?
You actually might. That's pretty sure it's pretty good character.
No, she is.
Yeah.
I'm just. I don't think anyone ever said that.
Yeah, no, that's like a sweat. Like if he's
Fuck you
if
up.
he picks Peach, that's when you know, like, okay, like dial
I'm
in.
gonna fuck you up, and I'm gonna take her out on a date
Damn.
afterwards, dude. Bro.
Hell yeah.
I like that.
Love that.
We're gonna have to have that full circle moment where we play Princess Peach against her.
Yeah.
We'll have that
Like,
happen one day.
You guys are like cut the podcast. You're like, all right, cut out the part where Eric's talking about his butthole for like 5 minutes, dude. Like, please cut that out.
No, we're clipping it. We're clipping it.
But yeah, that's about it, man. What do you want to tell the audience, or what do you want to promote? Go ahead. You got it.
The fact that we had 2 like questions that you decided to bring up from like the audience, like that you guys. One of them was, "Can I wipe my own butt?" It's like insane. Like you have somebody who's been bodybuilding for like 20 years. You could ask me anything about like, oh, what do you like think about XYZ? How do you optimize this? You're like, "Can you wipe your butt, bro?"
Yeah. So when
I
people,
want to know. I want to be in that situation with you. I just want to understand when you're pooping. Can you wipe it?
They asked the real questions.
That's the best. How they had some real ones, but yeah. So that's Brodie being a fucking douche. Then.
Make it vulgar.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no. Honestly, if you guys want to follow me, Instagram, Eric Janicki Fitness. I also have a YouTube. I'm really like pushing really hard in terms of like trying to get really quality content out there for you guys. There's so much great research being done on training optimization, frequency, stretch mediated versus not stretch mediated, full ROM, not full ROM, what's better, like all these things. You take 1 or 2 of these things and then apply it to your training, it can like make a huge difference over time. So trying to put the best information out there possible. So if you guys want to check out that, Instagram's kind of a mixture of like fitness and fun, but YouTube, I'm trying to like be a lot more value driven when it comes to education. Of course, I'm gonna have some fun, get some guests on there that aren't like, you know, like a Togi or something, but they're not gonna be like super value driven. But got some great Dr. Mike videos, Greg videos, some of the top bodybuilders. So go check that out.
I asked Greg this question. We can close it up after this. But if there was, I can ask 2 different questions that are very similar. But like if there was one, I guess if there was one day in the gym, like, or I don't know how to actually word this. What muscle group? If there was only one muscle group you could lift for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oof.
So being like, you know,
And
chest and shoulders.
So is this like
back
just
and
like,
thighs,
and
legs.
would this like affect my like how my physique looks, or is it just like just from an
Yes.
environment?
So this is it. Like you can only choose one. You have to train for the rest of your
It has to be legs.
legs, right?
Yeah.
I kind of feel that.
I think because if I got like leaner and like downsized, but I could still train legs like 2 or 3 times a week, and like have a good solid foundation, and like even if my like upper body gets a little smaller, but just have like a nice set of wheels, I think is I'd rather have that than the opposite.
Okay.
Better than me.
Like,
He's like,
arms
just
for me,
biceps is
bro.
good with me, man.
Sure, I'll wear sweatpants for the rest of my life, no problem.
Yeah.
Fair enough, dude. I'll respect you for that.
All right, cool.
I love
No,
legs,
but that's
so.
the right answer.
We're training legs next time, by the way.
100%. Let's do it.
Yeah, with a 10-second negative, 20-second hold, and then
That's gonna be fast.
he's like, slow down.
But honestly, like, all jokes aside, like, you guys have a bright future. Like, you guys are super genuine. You're great at what you do. And, like, just since I started watching your guys' videos a year or 2 ago, whatever it was now, I was like, yeah, these kids have got something special, like, in terms of, like, what they bring to the space. They're funny. They do something that's so different. Like, everybody's doing short form clips, copying each other's skits. Like, you guys do original, like, they're risky because they're long. You have to have high retention where people are just like, they want fast content.
Right.
You guys were like, all right, we're going to risk it, and we're going to do, like, skits that are, like, 1, 2, 3 minutes long, and just, like, we're going to do what we want to do. And you guys did a great job in terms of cultivating an audience that loves what you guys do. And I think it's really brave to do something like that, whereas there's like there's a formula to do it fast, and you guys have been like, dude, let's send it, let's start a podcast. It's gonna take time. People don't realize like podcasts take so much time to like really get traction, and you guys are doing it the right way and investing in your future. And I think that it's like the same way you've approached your physique. It's like, it's not instant gratification. It's not chopping on steroids. It's what can I do to like see these like really valuable results in 1, 2, 3, 5 years that we can actually be proud of.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
Thanks, Eric.
That was a great perspective with the skids too.
Yeah, I never actually looked at it from that direction, like a riskier take, because like you're right, like the super short stuff is the formula, because you can definitely get a lot more viewers. At least even if they don't like it.
Views and all that, like it's just like it's easier. Like,
That meant a lot, and plus we're still early on with the podcast, so thank you for everything. You actually showed me you actually taught me a good bit of things at the gym today.
Good.
And so I appreciate that. And also, I was watching some of your videos with like Dr. Mike and all that, and super informative. So he plugged his YouTube. Go check it out if you want better workout advice, and you do nutrition as well on there.
Yeah, I do. Like it's mostly trainings because like that's what my audience seems to be most enamored with. But like definitely touch on nutritional specificity and food quality. Like I've done like full days of eating and stuff like that. But full transparency, I think most of it comes down to like training efficiency, recovery as well. Like how to recover better, like, you know, sleep and all that. And it's all like very important, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you want to advance your knowledge and get some value, go check his YouTube page out. Seriously.
Right. No, I seriously learned some shit today, and I'm ready to like incorporate it into my routines now. Like a lot of those long stretches, especially for my chest, man. Got to get back. I gotta fix my technique and form. So if you would have saw that in the vlog that we posted prior to this podcast, but this was awesome, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah,
Thanks
appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the time.
Taking the time away from the fam. We'll let you get back to it.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Eric Janicki, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Alrighty, guys, and as always, we have some beautiful sponsors we want to shout out, and best supplements in the world, and best energy drinks in the world.
Absolutely.
If you want to save a whole 20% off all Ghost products, you can use code SHREDZ or
code GYMBRO.
For 20% off. That's crazy.
Yeah, save your money, kids.
Even crazier deal, 50% off if you use code PUMP to support the podcast channel. But if you use code PUMP at checkout for GOD jewelry, then you will save a whole, how much?
50% off.
That's nuts. I still think that's nuts. That's crazy.
Half the price, Brodie. That's half the price.
And as always, we have the best shakers in the game, and we have a code for the podcast. Code PUMP will save you 15% off Hilo Mix shakers. Best shakers in the game. We always say it.
They are the best shakers in the game.
Yes, sir. But we appreciate you guys for watching. We appreciate you guys for supporting. If you use any of our codes, please let us know. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, make sure you guys are following the pages. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. Obviously, this is where you're viewing it. And Apple Podcast. So if you guys ever, again, use our codes to support us, shoot us a DM. We love to interact there. If you guys, whatever you guys want to see, obviously comment below. And nonetheless, that's it, guys. Let's think of what a pump. We out.
Later.
We love y'all.
Hold up. Hell of a clap. I ruined it. Cut that in.